All set?
We should be all set.
Okay. My name is Darius Schonfar. I'm the chair of the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency, and I call this Finance Committee meeting to order today on September 15th at 12:16. Do a roll call first. All I know for sure who are here is myself and Susan Petto. I'm not sure who's here with you in person.
We have Liak as well.
Okay, so 3 of us.
Any other board members on the phone?
Okay, that does give us a quorum. Our agenda today, the first order of business is I'd ask for a motion to waive the reading of the minutes and to accept them as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Susan, please second. Are there any issues, questions, additions, deletions for the minutes? They were previously distributed to everybody. Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye. Aye. I assume those are 3 ayes.
Yeah.
Minutes are accepted. We have no report of the Chief Financial Officer today, so we'll go directly, into unfinished business. Holland Ave Oz, LLC, 25 Holland Ave in the city of Albany. This is a property that has been on our agenda a couple times over the past several years, and I think we finally have a project in front of us that has worked through all the issues that they have had there, which turned out to be for more than I think were anticipated initially. So I will turn it over to I think Andy, and to give us a brief rundown of the project.
Great, thank you, Darius. How's my audio for those on Zoom?
I hear you.
Great. Holland Ave OZ LLC. The project involves the construction of approximately 67,000 square foot market rate apartment complex containing 60 residential rental units with approximately 59 parking spaces on a 1.2 acre site. Looking at the revenue gains, the proposed revenue gains to the taxing jurisdictions, the status quo revenue gain to the taxing jurisdictions over the course of the proposed 20-year abatement schedule equates to approximately $730,000. The projected pilot payments equate to approximately $4 million for a net benefit of approximately $3.3 million. The property value increase, the current assessed value of the property is $589,000. The estimated anticipated future value is $6.65 million for a net increase of just over $6 million. This project proposes a total estimated investment of $12.1 million. The community benefits we will touch on in detail at the conclusion of this summary. As we do with all projects seeking real property tax abatements, the Capital District Regional Planning Commission was brought on board to conduct an in-plan economic analysis of the direct, indirect, and induced effects of both the temporary construction on site and the permanent operations. The temporary construction impact over the course of the entire construction period is projected to have a total effect of $9 million. And the permanent operations impact of the projected 2 permanent positions on site is projected to be approximately $1.04 million. What we're going to do next is run through the project evaluation and assistance framework scoring analysis point by point.
That's on page 7 of the materials.
Give everyone a second to get there if they're following along. Under the revitalization target geography category, project receives 1 point for being a high vacancy census tract. The project receives 1 point for being located within the boundaries of a neighborhood plan that plan being the Midtown Colleges and University Study Plan. Under the header of identified growth area, project receives 1 point for being in an existing cluster, being medical and education. For construction jobs, the project received 2 cumulative points for an estimated 115 construction jobs on site. Financial commitment, the project receives 2 cumulative points for an investment of approximately $12.1 million. And under the community commitment category, the project is receiving 3 points for committing to the following. The first point, 20% of the value of construction contracts will be performed by certified MWBE entities. The second point, regional labor. Project commits to utilizing 90% or more regional labor for construction jobs on site. City of Albany labor. The project commits to utilizing 15% or more City of Albany residents during the construction process. That equates to a total of 10 points. Would also note for the record, the staff financial analysis of the project was included via board-only materials. And additionally, we do have representatives here at the Capitol Center in person that could answer any questions that the board may have at this time, the committee, excuse me.
I'd add on to that, Chair, that we have performed that financial analysis in-house. As always, if we are, as a group, planning to discuss the financial background of an organization or individual, we should move into executive session to discuss portions of the pro forma or any particular returns questions that the committee may have. But general questions we can do here in open session with representatives of the applicant.
Thank you. Any questions to the applicant, or is the applicant here to add anything to the analysis that's been provided?
Nothing to add, but certainly available to answer any questions.
Terrific, thank you.
Darius, you may not be able to fill in the corner.
I'm sorry?
You may not be able to fill Hoblock in the corner.
Oh, I saw him. He loomed large over the table.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Eric.
Are there any other questions then therefore here? And if not, are there any questions that we have in the pro forma documents that would necessitate going into executive session?
I would like to walk you through that. If you don't have any general questions, Darius, if you'd want to take a motion to enter into executive session for those purposes.
Sure, great. Lee made the motion?
Yep. Second.
And Susan second. All those in favor? Aye. All right, so we'll go into executive session.
That's at 12:24. So we're going to have some logistics, pulling people in and out of Zoom rooms. And I think if we can have everyone sort of step outside of board and staff.
Hey guys, it's Robert. Are we on a pause?
I think they went into executive session. So yeah, we're on a pause until they come back.
Debbie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Stephen, for your help with this.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you. I always enjoy working with the college.
Thank you.
All right, we are back from executive session. We left it at 12:32. No action was taken. And let me just make sure I got everybody back. Are we all back from executive session? I don't think so. All right, I think the meeting room is still on mute. There we
Right,
go.
the phone number with the last four digits, 7600, identify themselves.
Yeah, that's me, guys. It's Bob Schofield.
Hey, Bob.
Okay.
So for the record, we are now joined by Bob Schofield as well from the IDA. Okay, so we came out of executive session at 12:32. No action was taken. Some discussion on financial information. So we have before us, I believe, we would need a motion for a positive recommendation for a public hearing resolution on this project, unless there are any other questions or anything else to discuss. All right. Lead. Susan second. All those in favor? Aye. We will see you at the next public hearing.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you. So as a new business, we have 21 Erie Association at 1921 Erie Boulevard. Similarly, we have on tap after discussion the possibility of a positive recommendation for public hearing resolution. I'm going to turn it back over to Andy, do a little briefing on this new project.
Sure. Thank you, Darius. The applicant, 21 Erie Associates LLC, which is managed and owned by members of Redburn. The project involves the historic renovation and conversion of a warehouse on Erie Boulevard into approximately 275 market rate apartments and approximately 45,000 square feet of commercial retail space. A brief project summary was provided as part of the materials. And additionally, representatives of the applicant, namely Liz, is here with us today to introduce the project in a little bit more detail.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Elizabeth Young-Jojo. I'm the Executive Vice President of Redburn Development. As Andy mentioned, we're here today to discuss our redevelopment of what everyone knows as the Huffman's Warehouse building. Redburn couldn't be more excited to be working in Albany again, and specifically in the Warehouse District. We have a project at 930 Broadway that we've just started construction on, also in the Warehouse District. The Huffman building will truly be a mixed-use project. Again, as Andy said, we're looking at between 275 and 300 apartments and 45,000 square feet of very unique destination commercial space. As I believe it does mention in our application, that commercial space will include maintaining Huck Finn's retail store in a bit of a different layout, bit of a different concept for them, but they will maintain a presence in the building. We also are signing a lease with a rock climbing gym who has another location actually in Brooklyn. We have a boutique fitness center as well, and a couple of interested coffee shop cafe users. The building itself was built in 1918. It was built as a paper factory. It was the Albany Perforated Wrapping Company. They are most well known for inventing toilet paper, which we love to hang our hats on the history of our properties, and this one is certainly very, very interesting. And I'm not sure if you've walked in that building when looking for furniture, if you really looked around, but the structure of the property is gorgeous. From the steel beams, all of may seem strange, but the cool old concrete floors, the wooden slat ceilings, all of these things will be maintained and visible both in the common spaces in the building and in the apartments. We have quite a breadth of amenity spaces that we're also proposing, more traditional things like a gym and a game room. But the outside, we really see the amenities of the project. Behind the property, we will be adding community garden space, quarter-mile jogging and walking trail, a pool outside, along with barbecue areas, some other things like that. We'll be improving the exterior both on the Erie Boulevard side and on the side that actually 787 oversees. We'll be planting over 25 new trees, repaving, putting up a beautiful new fence with some brick pillars as well. So we hope to get started with this project actually in December of this year. We are looking at about an 18-month construction period to hopefully then welcome new tenants into the building in the summer of 2023. So we're, as I said, very, very excited, and thank you for hearing us out today.
Thank you.
Answer any questions anyone may have. Also, my colleague Joe Perticero is also on the line as well, I believe.
And just say for those watching at home, have the materials in front of them. It starts at page 68. And this is not a project that is actually seeking tax abatements other than sales and mortgage reporting. All right. Anything else? Andy, do you want to run us through some of this, or?
What we'll be doing is at this juncture seeking committee recommendation for a public hearing resolution for next week. And prior to the October meeting, we'll be running through our full project summary. And to your point, Darius, this project is not requesting real property tax abatements, so we will have a typically shorter summary.
Great. Any questions? Any other comments? All right. Then I ask for a motion for a positive hearing recommendation for this project.
Hello.
Second.
Susan, Lee second. All those in favor? Aye. We'll see you next week for a hearing.
Thank you so much,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is 745 Broadway, Albany. We're seeking transfer of approving resolutions on this project, which has been previously approved by the committee and has been, construction has been underway.
Correct.
And yeah.
So just as a refresher, this project came through the Finance Committee, the whole public hearing process, and the approval process. Mark Aronowitz, who I believe is with us today, was the project applicant at that time. The project involved the new construction of an approximate 5-story residential apartment structure at 745 Broadway, what is currently being used as a parking lot. And that building was planned to include 80 market rate apartments. Since then, the project is potentially changing hands in terms of ownership, and there's also been a couple small changes in both the request at hand and the physical nature of the project that we'd like to run through. I will also note that the potential new owners are here with us today, representatives of Rosenblum, namely Jeff Morrell. The potential new iteration of this project will now include up to 2,400 square feet of retail space. That was retail space was initially contemplated as part of the project, and I believe due to some issues and concerns, obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, that space, Mr. Aronowitz decided to convert into tenant amenity space. With that addition to the project, staff completed their analysis and also determined that as such, the standard commercial abatement pilot would need to be applied to that pro rata share of the project square footage. Staff has done that, updated the pilot analysis, and additionally the pro forma to reflect that. We'll note is somewhat minimal in nature due to the small amount of square footage. Additionally, due to again, the COVID-19 pandemic and obvious supply chain issues. There were some adjustments in the sales tax exemption requested. And additionally, due to the new entity having a different potential financing structure, there was an increase to the requested mortgage recording tax exemptions originally approved by the board. We would like to note for the record that as is agency policy, when the increase in requested assistance is less than $100,000, which it is in this case, slightly lower, a public hearing is not necessary. So with that, I would love to turn the floor over to representatives of the past and potential future iteration of this project, if there's any questions.
Any questions at this juncture, or do you guys just want to go into a little bit more of an explanation or why this project is being sold?
Yes, a little bit of an explanation.
I'll defer to Mark on maybe the reasons, and
okay.
I can certainly fill in any more.
We do have Jeff Morrell in the room for those of you if you aren't able to see him. If Mark Aronowitz, are you on the call right now? We see a box marked Mark. If you'd like to start and then kick it over to Jeff. And Mark, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. So then maybe we'd start with Jeff.
So, you know, the current owner, I think, based on, oh, sorry.
Got it.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry about that. I was still on mute. I thought I had taken myself off. Good afternoon, everybody. So back, I believe, earlier in the year, we had appeared in front of the IDA board to request a addition or change in ownership. We were bringing in a new equity partner into the project, and the board was kind enough to approve that transfer to the new entity, with myself staying in as a partner. Subsequent to that meeting, we had gone as far as to pull a building permit, and then shortly after receiving the building permit, our equity partner decided to not move forward with the project. I think due to some personal reasons, as well as the increase in interest rates and the increase in construction costs. So at that point, my original partner and I decided that we would then look to market the project for sale as a shovel-ready project, and have entered into a purchase and sale agreement with an entity associated with the Rosenblum development. So okay. That's my story.
Thank you. Jeff, did you have anything you want to make us aware of, or?
No, I mean, other than the fact that, again, we're very appreciative to be here today. Obviously, you know, the incentives on the project are still critical to making it work. However, we're very confident that we can deliver a great project. And, you know, I'll only say that we felt that adding some amount of retail back in was critical to good urban design. You know, we like to activate the building at the street level. And I think we, you know, on a bigger sort of, you know, pulling back just a bit, you know, looking at what Liz and Redburn have done to really solidify the downtown core, and then seeing what's happening now in the warehouse district, starting to bring multifamily that way. We're really excited. It very much aligns with our core values in terms of infill, adaptive reuse, and good urban design construction, that we can join some of the other actors, you know, North Star very early on, certainly, you know, Fairbanks with their project coming online in Broadway, in terms of building out that connector and really sort of creating a bigger, or being part of creating a bigger walkable downtown area with this project. So that's really what attracted us to it, in spite of the current economic challenges in labor, construction, and otherwise.
Jeff, can you go through some of the other projects you have going on downtown?
Sure. Well, in downtown Albany, we currently do not have a project. We have, in grand total, about 1,000,005 square feet of, varied real estate product throughout the capital region. Our most recent multifamily projects were in downtown Troy. That's Vicina Modern Urban Flats, as well as the adaptive reuse and new construction addition at the News Apartments. Both projects have been very successful. Both projects are similar in approach to the ones that we're doing here with the new construction component, as well as being part of sort of building out the urban fabric, doing that infill adaptive reuse approach. So we're, this is, not only have we had great success thus far in this multifamily approach, but we're also very excited to bring it back home. I'm a resident of Albany a long time, so is my co-principal Seth Rosenblum, so it's exciting for us to be able to do that here.
Terrific, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
Added administratively, because this project has not closed, this is being treated as an amendment to the original, actually the revised approvals for the project. So this is more of an administrative action than typical for approvals. That being said, staff has done a full financial analysis on this, given the ownership update and the transfer of the property, and it's in alignment, as Andy mentioned, with previous approvals and does not require an additional public hearing. So this is really an amendment to the approvals that we have on the books for the project.
Yeah, essentially, really just changing the we would be permitting a change in the ownership share, really, of this project. Is that correct?
It is a new entity entirely that is taking ownership of the property, both the project and the property, and so we'd be entering into the agreements with the Industrial Development Agency with a new entity today with Rosenblum Developments LLC that's taking on the project. So this is a full transfer, but it is prior to closing on the original agreement. So this is an amendment to the IDA's approval.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other comments? Then I guess we would seek a motion for a positive recommendation for transfer of approving resolutions.
So moved.
Susan? Lee, second. All those in favor? Aye. All right. We'll go before the full board next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next item, AFP 107 Corp. Albany Hilton. There's some requested relief on their pilot. We have entertained some discussion previously on adjusting the pilot in a larger sense, and I think what we're asking for here is what the Hilton is asking for here is relief on a separate component of the pilot agreement for services rendered. I don't know if you want to discuss a little further, Sarah or Andy.
Over to Tom to go through this one.
Great. So Darius, as you mentioned at the June 9th meeting, the Finance Committee did discuss a letter that had been received from the Hilton Albany requesting a modification to their pilot along with relief on their job requirements and the elimination of the remaining community development fee payments, which run through 2026 and total about $100,000 annually. That request was being made due to hardships the hotel has faced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And following guidance from the Finance Committee, staff has had several phone calls with the project team to really refine the request and resubmit it back to the IDA. And so in your packets, you'll see a letter, reflecting those revisions. And the first thing is that they have eliminated their pilot request entirely. Second change is that they have modified their job reporting request to, really conform to the corporation's annual reporting practices. And then the last is a request to defer payments for 2021 to 2025 until 2027 to 2031. And counsel to the Hilton is available on Zoom today to answer any questions from the committee.
Thank you. Speaking for myself as a as a receiver of the funds for the city, rare is the time when I can say, you know what, we can handle putting off this, receiving these funds for a few years. Now is one of those times, and I think we all do understand that the COVID and the effects of COVID and the continuing effects of the spread of the Delta virus have made things difficult in the hotel industry. I would only say that I think we should have something in here were we to approve this for the loss of use of the money for the next 5 years. So rather than 100,000, maybe 105,000 per year or something along those lines. But I don't know if anybody else has any other questions or any other discussions.
Darius, this is Jake Lammy from Monaco Cooper, Lammy and Carr. I'm counsel for AFP 107 Corp. I just had a question about what I didn't follow what you had just said about the changing the amount, because I guess the request is under the project benefits agreement.
Right.
So the community service, the way I understand it, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought that the community benefit payment, it's an annual payment of $100,000, which is due every January, pursuant to that agreement. So it's separate and apart from, obviously any other
correct
payment.
So Jake,
that is correct.
That does come into the Industrial Development Agency, and for the committee, if you recall, the original request asked for a waiver of those payments. During the previous Finance Committee meeting, the committee had asked staff to go back and talk through a potential deferral instead of a waiver with the Hilton and the representatives. And so the Hilton did come back with that revised proposal that they would make those deferred payments. Darius, I think what you may have been getting at was, an additional, almost like an interest payment on top of.
Correct.
Oh, I see what you mean. I get it.
Yeah. I think that should be something that should be considered in this, because we would be, deferring the revenue for 5 years.
Understood.
So that isn't something that we had discussed previously with the Hilton and their representatives. It's something that we can either go back to them with, or we could discuss that. Jake, I'm not sure if you're prepared to discuss that on the call today.
Unfortunately, the representative from the hotel is not on the call today, so I would like to go back to my client with that. But I mean, I certainly understand that position.
Yeah. My apologies for throwing this in at the last minute. As I was going through this, that struck me.
No, I understand that. And from our perspective, we had just tied the request for the deferral, pursuant to our discussions with staff, to the industry standards on projected recovery timeframes, and that's really what we were focusing on in this updated letter from last week. Just based on the industry standards that say that the hotel and hospitality industry is not expected to fully recover until, at least 2024. And so really, if assuming no more hurdles or setbacks with the pandemic, really the first year that a hotel can expect to get back to full revenue of, pre-COVID full revenue would be 2025, if 2024 is really the time frame that they're looking at now. So that's why we were tying the request to those, the deferral of 5 years to those dates. But I hadn't even considered the interest component, if you will. So
yeah, I think we just, we do have a fiduciary obligation that I think will require at least taking a look at that and discussing that. But again, as someone who, certainly understands what the hotel industry is going through and being able to, being in a financial position where we're able to, I think, defer the payments without, significant hit to our own revenue. It's something that I'm supportive of. So I don't know if Lee or Susan have another, comments.
I agree. I think that's a reasonable request. Look at this as sort of an interest payment, and we could either tie it to interest rates, or we could just do a flat additional fee.
Yeah, Darius, you beat me to it. I was thinking the same thing when I was going through. And even if the hotel does regain full revenue by 2025, they're also going to have 2026 because the fees don't come back in until 2027. So that would be 2 years of full operation if that's the projected return.
Well, I don't think that's correct, because I think that the project benefit payments, the last one is 2026. So
Correct.
the request was to defer 5 years. So 21, which wasn't made this past year. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 is the 5 years. 26 would be paid pursuant to the project benefit agreement. And then those 5 years that are deferred would be tacked on at the end.
Terrific. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. So we won't take any motion on this right now. We'll defer it for the next next meeting.
And Jake will reach out.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. So we now have draft IDA budget. Mark.
Thanks, Darius. So in front of you is the draft 2022 IDA budget.
Just for the record, it's page 160 of the materials and 179.
Keep in mind, this budget was prepared with information that was known as of August 27th of this year. Obviously, the discussion items that we just went over are not projected in the budget because no action was taken at the board at this time. So with what we know, the agency is budgeting a surplus of approximately $36,860 for 2022. On the revenue side, we're projecting 1.3 million. Most of the revenue to the agency is in the form of project fee revenue, and that's being budgeted at approximately 1.15 million. We use the weighted average formula as in past years to come up with this amount. And the project benefit revenue might change, but it's in this budget, and the 9.5 low-income housing tax credit fee remain unchanged. Interest is budgeted higher because the balances are projected to be higher in the IDA's bank accounts, and the CRC is budgeted to be a flat 20,000. On the expense side, the expenses are budgeted to be about 1.3 million in 2022. Most of the items on the expense side remain unchanged, with the exception of IT expenses are budgeted about 1,200 higher due to the cost of live streaming the agency meetings. And we budgeted professional service fees 2,000 higher because on most of our projects, we do go out for in-plan economic analysis, which we are charged for. So we budgeted that in the 2022 budget. And insurance slightly higher due to projected increases in policy renewals in 2022. And we did, because of the uncertainty of COVID, we did put in approximately $13,400 for related training and offsite board and committee meetings if we need to continue those in 2022. We did push, since we did not, the board had requested in 2020 that we do some strategic activities in market studies. We pushed that $350,000 to the 2022 budget since there was no action taken on that in this year. So with that, we're projecting approximately $3.5 million based on this proposed budget, which is in our comfort level. It's 3.78 years at the projected level of operating expenses.
Great. Any questions or further points of discussion? If not, then ask for positive recommendation, or motion for positive recommendation for approval of budget for in front of the full board next week.
So Darius, we need, based on this, if there's no changes, we need to post this up for the IDA. We need to post this up at City Hall for 20 business days. So I will put that up on Friday, so we're able to discuss this and pass it at the October board meeting.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you.
We could take, if you would like, we could take a motion for an approval recommendation pending no changes from the public, so that we don't have to take this on again at the October finance meeting unless there's any changes or updates.
That works for me.
I can make that motion.
Lee, Susan, second. All those in favor? Aye. We'll see the budget. We'll see the budget on the bathroom walls, on the walls of City Hall. Enough.
That's a conspicuous place. Yeah.
It's pretty conspicuous. All right. Well, with that, on to agency update and then ultimately compliance update. Sarah.
Sure. Under agency update, I do regret to inform the committee that Lloyd Stewart has provided us a letter of resignation effective immediately as of September 14th. The committee members and board members do have a copy of that letter in their email. I also have a couple here if the members here don't have one. Great. So Lloyd does cite enjoying his time serving on the boards and cites health reasons for being unable to continue with his appointment. So we wish him well, certainly here. What that does mean is that we currently have 2 openings on the board of directors. We are going to be meeting with the governance committee tomorrow to discuss the relevant characteristics and background of ideal board candidates. And the Common Council does have a call for applicants open at this time. I've contacted Kathy Fahey, who's the chair of that committee for the council, in hopes that they'll be able to fill both concurrently, similar to how they had done that last year during their procedures. So just a quick update there. We'll talk more at governance about the process going forward, but of note for the group about Lloyd and his health.
And I spoke to Lloyd this morning, and he was very sorry to have to be stepping down at this time due to health reasons. He did offer his services if we need to call on him going forward. But I'd like to, for the record, thank him for his service. He really brought a lot to the board, and he will be missed.
Yes. That's unfortunate. Any other agency update?
Move into compliance update and then turn it over to Tom.
All right, great.
Okay, this is pretty brief. In the packets, there's a summary of the insurance policies of the corporation, and as is best practices, we do try to review this annually with the finance committee. Staff is not proposing any changes to the policies, but you can kind of see just at a quick glance, when those policies expire, sort of the limits, which are the individual limits, and then just a little bit about each policy.
Perfect.
So we did clarify, Tom, that those are that the limits are per.
Yeah, we are getting clarity in terms of the aggregate and the umbrella, but it is it's for an individual incident.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We need a motion to approve this. I mean, we're already under contract, so.
Just a review.
Yep. All right. Well, in that case, unless there's any other business, going once, going twice, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Susan, Lee, second.